Looking to buy or sell a home in the GTA? Look no further than Remax Jack Turner. Jack never stops working to get you the best value for your home, often selling above the asking price. With extensive knowledge of the markets and a trusted reputation, Jack is your reliable partner in real estate transactions. Trust Remax Jack for a smooth and successful home buying or selling experience within the GTA. Contact Jack today at www.remaxjack.ca and let Jack help you achieve your real estate goals. Jack Turner has been a partner of the Stickers and Stuffs podcast since our very first season. It's time for some great short track racing at Sunset Speedway in Innisfil, Ontario. Get ready for some heart-pounding action with their highly competitive hot rod division, featuring also bone stocks, modifieds, junior late models, super stocks, my personal favorite, the mini stocks, and pro late models. Don't miss out on their yearly classics, including the Hanley Classic, the Steve Slaughter Classic, Allen Lincoln Cup, and many more exciting events. We want to see more of those cool power drag races. Visit sunsetspeedway.ca for ticket information and head to the track for an unforgettable racing experience.
Stickers and stuff we ride, interviewing drivers side by side, from the pits to winning strides. Stickers and stuff's our racing guide. Hear the roar and feel the speed. Every driver chasing dreams, from the green flag to the win. From the pits to winning strides, stickers and stuff's our racing guide. Engines roaring, crowds alive, Ontario pride by the mile. Lap by lap on the move, catch the thrill in every groove. Stickers and stuff.
Hey everybody, welcome into the Stickers and Scuffs podcast, episode 195, presented by our friends at Sunset Speedway, and of course, the man himself, Remax Jack, presenting us a 195 grade. And wow, we're on our way to 200. So we've got the spicy guests. We've got to bring in Paul Pepper. Yes, that's right, the best name in racing. He's not salty out there. Listen
to this guy.
I'm sure he's heard it all before. Paul, welcome to the show, my friend.
I'm good. How are you guys?
Great. Great. We get to finally chat with you, bud. It's been a couple years that we've been seeing that number 29 out at Sunset Speedway, and it's been a little bit more before that. You've been running around racing for a while, but we'll start it off with just the typical how'd you get started, man? Has it been since you were a kid type of thing, or is it a little bit later in life?
No, it was definitely later in life. I'll apologize in advance for my raspy voice. Had a bit of a rough weekend, so we're recovering. My karaoke voice isn't is what it should be right now. But started in 2018. Bought a super stock off of Nick Hamill down in the Sauble area, and had no idea what I was doing whatsoever. Didn't even have this shop built at the time. Went and bought a race car, and then bought a trailer, and kind of got into it. And we're going into year 7 right now. That's with a COVID year in 20 whatever that was. Where we ran the 4 races. So fairly new. The years are starting to creep up pretty fast, but family wasn't involved in racing at all. This is all the first of it with as far as I go.
So how'd you get into it before? Like, so most people don't just go out and buy a race car. So did you have experience involved in Ontario motorsports prior to that, or you knew of it?
No, none.
Really?
So like as a kid, I would go to they just closed it. It was Gasport Speedway. Is it Humberstone?
Humberstone.
It was the dirt track. Humberstone. Yeah, So as a kid, I would go there and I go to Merrittville with my dad, and like I would love racing, and we'd walk the track afterwards, and I'd pick up all the parts from the cars that had wrecked that night and bring them home and dirty up his trunk, which he didn't like too much. But yeah, like I not involved at all. Like, but the most involvement I had in racing was iRacing and like NASCAR 2003, and it was all computer stuff. Yeah, exactly. There you go. And
My man.
and then I have a friend, Chris Luco, who helped out Andy Kamrath on his when he was still in the APC series. And we met up at my work, and I said, hey, I'll just, can I come down to a race and watch? Like, just, it has been years since I'd been down to a race. And went down, and the juices started to flow a little bit. And I'm like, man, I got to figure out how to somehow get into this again. Like, this is really, really cool. So I was living in Timmins at the time. I drove from Timmins down to Sauble Beach and then back in the span of,
Jesus.
yeah, the span of a day and a half. But once I got down there, like I was hooked. Like it was, I got introduced to Shawn Chenoweth and Andy and Mike Schmidt, that whole team, and just had a blast. And said, okay, I got to figure out how to do this. And then I figured out what was it, Racing Classifieds, where they have all the cars for sale. So I was gonna get a mini stock just because I figured, okay, well, not knowing what to do or anything, like a mini stock will probably be good. And then my first car was popped up, and I'm like, oh, I can do a couple shifts of overtime maybe, and save up a little money and see if I can get it. And I just ended up buying a super stock, and here we are today.
Jumped into the deep end of the pool.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. It's been a hell of a learning experience, that's for sure. I couldn't.
Yeah, so as you said, 2018 to now, I mean, 7 years, a lot's happened in the world and in racing in 7 years. And so in that time, you've put your lumps in. I mean, you finished P3 in the 2024 standings at in the St. Ange Superstocks at Sunset. What's kind of the Cole's notes of these 7 years? I mean, that's a lot of time to learn, and obviously you're not a stranger to doing road trips either.
Oh no, not at all. Like being stationed up in North Bay, it's been a trek all over Ontario for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, honestly, Graydon, like I'd say the Coles notes I'd kind of compare it to like an apprenticeship program. Like even like when I bought the car, like I didn't know what stagger was. I didn't know what sway bars were. I didn't know anything, and I didn't know how to weld. I didn't know how to do anything. And now, like this is, I mean, some people would question my welding, but like
Mine too.
I can basically do almost everything. Obviously, Andy Kamrath helps and Shawn Chenoweth helped me out a lot with the setup of the car. But when it comes to overall maintenance and taking care of it, like it comes back here after every race,
Yeah.
unless it's, unless I have to go to work and Andy's gracious enough to work on it while I'm away.
Hmm.
I'd say it's been like an apprenticeship program, just learning mechanics and fabbing and, sponsorship stuff's a big one too, networking. It's hard to really show an ROI to a racing program. It's not a pretty one, as you guys talk about, weekly on your show. But yeah, I'd say it's been an apprenticeship program so far. I'd like to be a little more successful than I've been for sure. Especially when you're around guys like Shawn and Andy, they win a lot of races. So
Yeah.
when you got the same stuff essentially that they have and you're not winning, it's like, okay, well, what's the problem? So but no, overall, great experience so far, and I'm looking forward to the next year for sure. We'll see how much longer after that, but
That's an amazing answer, like, attributing it to like an apprenticeship program, because it really is. I mean, and as we've talked about, and as you just alluded to, I mean, it's not just driving a car. There's so many more facets to being a race car driver, an owner operator, if you will. That's a cool way to put it. So right on. Yeah.
I mean, you've kind of done it for a while. You've kind of been all over the place, and
Hmm.
um, in a short amount of time, doing the home track at Sunset compared to say doing a Daco tour. What do you find that the benefits are to doing more of a home track effort? In comparison, obviously we know touring is a lot. It's a lot of travel. In
He tours to his local track.
exactly, that's what I was gonna say. Like really, why kind of have a local track when you're already far away from everywhere
Yeah.
else?
Yeah. The one thing I like about the local track, especially where, not growing up in a racing family or around race cars or exposed to that, is it's a lot more consistent. You don't need to change things so much on the car from track to track. You're not learning, a new competition. You're not learning a new line or a groove at a track, the nuances of, how to be fast at certain places. We did do the tour like in 2020 and 2021. We did do the tour.
Mhm.
And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of travel for sure, but the exposure to the different areas of the province and the different tracks and the different competition was great. It just became too much.
Yeah.
Traveling down to Delaware from here is it's a 7 hour pull. Luckily, I've got friends where I can camp with them and everything. But when you start, a lot of people, well, maybe they don't, but I track all the costs of racing,
Yep.
and you never come up on top. And when you start putting the cost together to do the traveling series compared to, a home track series, um, especially at that time, you had to run, I think it was 60% home track and the
Yep.
traveling series. So you were 6 grand in tires just for the home track stuff, and then you're another 5 grand at the time for the traveling series because you're bolting 4 tires on every time you're out there.
Mhm.
They've done a good job of breaking that down to now you only get 3 sets of tires, but for me financially, life wise, um, it just makes sense to do the home track stuff more.
I guess my question would really be around this is, do you feel you were ready to do the tour at that time?
No,
Yes.
no,
Yes.
no.
So now, do you think maybe it would go a little bit smoother for you? Maybe a
Yeah.
little bit better because you have that home track experience?
100%. I remember we were racing Dwayne Baker at Peterborough. I think in 2021 we finished, I think sixth, he finished fifth. And that guy's got, hundreds and hundreds of laps around Peterborough Speedway. And for us to finish, behind a guy like Dwayne Baker in a brand new McCall car with a car that was built in 2014, it was that was a really big deal for us. And we went out this year and we ran second to Shawn the whole or not quick, the Dayco Series race at Sunset all year and got wiped out on the last restart. So I think for sure if we were to do the series again, the traveling series, we'd definitely be better prepared.
Mhm.
I just don't know that if I'm going to do the traveling series, it would probably just be a traveling series. It wouldn't be both.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be a grind, and I mean, racing in itself is a grind. But if you stack those up side by side, and that's a huge schedule. I mean, especially when you have like not your average commute too.
No.
Um, Something like the more we've chatted through Messenger and that sort of thing, we have a lot of similarities. And even now, when you're talking about like very little racing experience, and we have kind of similar backgrounds in the like heavy equipment and that sort of thing, and it just I feel like there's no better way to learn for people that kind of have the way our brains work, that you just got to get in there and jump in with both feet and do it. And there's no better learning tool, and you don't pick up stuff like you would in a classroom, as other than if you're doing it with hands on and taking your lumps and celebrating the wins, no matter how small they are when they come, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I remember my first time going out at Sunset to test in 2018, and you come out, guys know, you come down the back chute and then you drop into turn three. I came out of turn two thinking that was the entrance, and I thought like I was like doing a good pace, and then I saw the video afterwards. I'm like, man, like I look like a turtle out there, but it was
Yeah.
it was such a sensory overload. Like I had
Mhm.
raced on a
Yeah.
computer for years, but I didn't feel anything and couldn't smell anything and couldn't, didn't really hear much. But when you go out there, you've got these smells and these feelings, and it was just it was absolutely insane. So yeah, like the more time that you put into it and that you can actually get on track and test and grow your talents, it's beneficial.
I feel like when early on, anyways, from my point of view, it was just like, oh my God, I'm out here and I kind of just want to survive and not really be that guy that causes some sort of mayhem or whatever.
Yeah.
But then I mean, at the same time, the more you do something, the more repetitive, like the more you pick up on it. At least that's my experience, anyways. And so you still kind of have that. Like, I don't want to ever lose that feeling myself of like, oh my God, I'm here. But then at the same time, you got a little more of the work ethic kicked in, where I like, all right, now I'm here. Now I got to get good at this.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And that honestly, great in the first couple of years was just like I don't want to screw anybody's day up. Like I
Yeah.
just like, and I remember I think like Ryan Semple had Velocity 2018 won in this car, and I spun out by myself, and he ended up wrecking with Passer, and that was the day that he jumped on Passer's windshield or hood or whatever it was, and I was just like, man, like that was because I spun out because of, didn't know what I was doing, right? So like the first couple of years was just stay out of everybody's way, and unfortunately from that though, as you do get better and you do get faster, you need to change your mentality and your mindset of, okay, I'm not just out here riding around now. Like I've got a good piece. Like I've got sponsors that I'm representing. I've got people that are putting their time in that are, they're not paid. It's all volunteer time.
Yep.
That are, here to, have a good time, but run competitively. So that's where for me, like I was told, multiple times, you're too nice, you're too nice, you're too nice out there. Like you just let that guy go. Like you don't want to junk anybody by any means.
Yep.
But you've got to change that mentality of, once you start progressing and once you start developing as a driver to be like, hey, you're not just a car out here anymore. Like you've got a good program. So go out there and show it.
Right. Exactly.
You've had it's funny that you mentioned that because I have seen a clip thanks to our good friends at Pedal Power 51 of you in a particular '07 car having some fun at Sunset
Huh.
Speedway.
Yeah.
And that I'm pretty
I
sure
gained more fans that day than I will ever have in my life, just so you know. And Dan will to this day say I wrecked him on purpose. I held my line, so I don't know what he wants. But when I came into the pits, there was like 200 people around the trail. I'm like, oh, we're gonna go.
my point was gonna be that like you went from not like you don't want to mess anybody's race up to being like I don't care what happened, I held my line, and you got and whoever's telling you you got to toughen up, I would imagine would be your guys like Andy Kamrath and Shawn Chenoweth, who they have that same mentality. It's do not race and wreck me. I will race you clean. But if you take liberties, I'm going to give it right back to you. And it almost feels like that has to be the way to race people because there's too much on the line now. It is. I mean, you've been in it from 2018 till now. Respectfully, you don't have to give us any sort of actual terms, but we're talking price ranges from then to now. Are we in really bad shape or are things kind of where they were back then? Have things gone down?
Yeah.
Where are we sitting?
It's hard to compare then to now just because of the overall startup costs. Like
Okay.
if you include the shop in it, then it's gone like way down. But
Yeah.
like to just to get started and like get the trailer and get the tools and I had nothing, like absolutely nothing. So it's been a 7-year build up to this cam.
Yeah.
Like last year, it was 15 grand to run that car at Sunset and then the 2 races at the end of the year. And that's straight out of pocket. That doesn't include the motor that Humberview supplied. That doesn't include the tires that Action Utility provided. So you include a $10,000 motor and you include, $7,000 worth of tires, you're closer to, $30,000 to run I think we're competitive, a competitive program in a super stock, which is it's not a little bit, it's crazy. Like it's nuts. And I've looked at like, where can you save money? Tire prices, you're never going to change those. Fuel is what it is.
Yeah.
The one thing that I think you could maybe work on is the gears. I've got 9 sets of gears on the shelf behind me here at $1,100 a piece, just because they're not quick changes, right? They're 4 9-inch. So I think if the United rules could really look at, can you start running lightweight gears? Because you can buy a set of lightweight gears 9-inch off of a Pinty's team for a third of the price that you buy a new set for, right? And this is guys that have been in racing for years. They have all this inventory where I don't have it, so I'm a little bit different that way. But price range, it's still expensive. And I'm fortunate to have Humberview in Action and Sean Murray with Redline. Like I'm super fortunate.
It's just like clothes. You need hand-me-downs. and you need to be
Yeah.
able to get hand-me-downs for a decent price. We talked about before with the OSS series how I mean, just a perfect example is there's a 10-year-old chassis for a NASCAR Penny Series car that you could use for OSS, but it's listed at like 30 grand, 40 grand. That no one is ever spending that much to run an OSS. It's not doable. So being able to have something like that, I mean, super stocks, we've seen this. This class has had a really tough time lately. Numbers have been kind of all over the place, but I think you can attest last year, it didn't matter what the numbers were. The competition level was as fierce as it's ever been. Ultimately, didn't get the championship. You were close in there with Miles and obviously Miles had a great season.
Yeah.
How do you feel about how you placed um in that you were right there?
Obviously disappointed. Like when we were neck and neck with Miles and Johnny for most of the year, and then Miles kind of struggled for 4 or 5 weeks in a
Yep,
row when we really gained a lot of points on him. Like we were, I think, like 2 points behind him at one point.
yep.
And then we had a we had some collars bind up on the sway bar in last 2 races of the night or last 2 races of the year. We just couldn't figure out what was going on with the car. It just would not travel. So disappointed to not get a championship. Obviously, that's what we're going out for. Uh, there was also probably 2 or 3 races that I think we should have won. Opening night, I think we had the best card. Johnny Morrison forgot I was underneath him, and that's not a shot at Johnny. Just he came down, and I was in there, and it knocked the toe out of the car and cost us. And then the night Shawn Chenoweth just decided to come out and play one night, and we had the best car there, and we were, he had to start at the back with, and we were gone, and 5 laps ago he passes us for a win. So I'd like a lot more checkered flags for sure, but we brought the car home in one piece relatively every single night last year, which was great. Especially with my schedule being away for 2 weeks at a time, when you rip this thing up and you got to rebuild, and it takes it's a big effort to try and get it turned over. So overall, I'd give it a B minus grade last year. But this year we're going for an A plus, obviously, with a championship and lots of wins.
Well, as you said, it can beat you down, and also as we've talked about, as you're learning your racecraft, you kind of change your mindset. The mental game can really beat you down sometimes, especially something like that. If for whatever reason you go on a tangent of like wrecking stuff or being wrecked, whatever. I my own personal thing, I had an incident this year. I kind of threw a race away, and you were one of the first guys to reach out to me and help me kind of pump me back up. And I, like Cam kind of alluded to earlier, it's maybe the trickle down effect where you had like Andy and Shawn kind of helping you adapt your mindset to the racing. And I feel kind of privileged that that's trickled down to me. So I mean, it's such a great community to be a part of, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. And then that was I know it wasn't asked advice, but I saw the post. And I'm like, hey, I've been where he's at right now, and I'm just gonna just lay it out on the line. It's as much as we all want to complain and this isn't good, we need to fix this. We're all privileged to be in the positions that we're in to run, whether it's a legend or a bone stock or a super stock or a late model. And I think that gets lost on a lot of us at times, because when we go to the track, there is pressure to do well and and perform, but at the end of the day, I was a fan in that stands, just hoping I could, get involved somehow, and now I am. So every now and then, it's a good reality check just to remind yourself of, the privilege that you have to be out there. And yeah, it's a lot of work, and yeah, it's a lot of money, and there's a lot that comes with it. But I think you need those self checks at times, especially in your situation where you've got people putting you in cars because they know your dream, they want you to go have fun, and if you screw it up, then learn from it and move on and just let it go. Don't dwell on it. If you dwell on it, you're going to be the same position the next week. So as soon as the checker flag falls, the race is done, move on, figure out how you can get better, and keep going. Andy and Shawn don't put it that softly.
I would think so.
That doesn't
But you
sound at
don't
all
think-
like
no.
them.
Yeah, they don't put it that softly at all. But they have I couldn't ask for two better mentors when it comes to the on track stuff. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, let's talk about a little bit about them. I mean, obviously getting to
No, where do you want to
part-
start?
Yeah, I want to hear. I want to hear it. This sounds like it. I mean, as I mean, we've had Andy on the show. Man, it was
Going
uh,
back now.
going back a couple years that we had
Yeah.
Andy on the show, and
Well, he's old and retired now, right? So he's kind of
well,
irrelevant.
not this year
He's
though.
washed, eh?
Not this year.
No, he's going Legends
Going
racing.
legend car
Yeah.
racing now.
Yeah.
So, but I guess maybe we could call that's an old guy car. I guess I don't know. But and Shawn obviously goes out there and he's a threat to win every time he's out there. But I want to know kind of you said you kind of got hooked up with them right away, and um, what do you want the racing community to know about those two guys?
Honestly, they've got real big hearts and they're nice people. I know that they're extremely loud at times, and
Yeah.
sometimes they may seem that they're not approachable, which at times they're not. But they've got extremely big hearts. They're super smart guys. They're really supportive. They obviously know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like you said, he took that 89 car this year and won everywhere with it. You can put Andy in a wheelbarrow and he'll go win wherever that race is.
That might be something that we could do. Sunset.
Yeah.
Let's look at wheelbarrow races.
Well, I still want the big wheels race between Jared Fitzpatrick and Andy at Sawwolf, just to see what their conditioning is like. But honestly, they're two really good guys, and I'm fortunate to be able to call them friends and have their help. And the program wouldn't be where it's at without them. They both take meticulous care of their race cars, on a week in and week out basis. And I've tried to, do that with this thing here. So, they've been extremely instrumental in getting to us to where we are now.
Awesome. I mean, that's mentorship and like everything we've spoken to about how the racing community works. They're obviously a testament to that. You obviously also have some other people that help you get there, and share with us who helped you get to the track and who has your back.
Yeah, like one guy whose name doesn't get mentioned a lot is Scott James. So he's our Humberview sponsorship. Scotty and I go back to when we were kids. Without Humberview on the car, we'd be out there, but it'd be a shell of what it is now. Scotty really supports the race team, and he doesn't get enough credit. But he's out in the pit selling motors to late model guys and super stock guys, and it is Chevrolet Performance. So it is 10% off any GM performance products in their catalog. So check that out. But Scotty, and then obviously Sean Murray and Sue Murray over at Redline. You're not going to convince me otherwise. I think we have the best looking car on the track every single year, whether we win the best appearing or not.
Which you did.
Sean, yes, we did get that this year yet. Sean and Sue, they take such good care of us, and getting us, looking great. Central Ontario Spray Foam with Brian Sudsbury, him and Megan help out a lot. Scott Shaw, we've had this thing down in Ajax at the end of the year, and the whole rear end cut off of it and replaced because it was all bent in. And
Not my neck of the woods. Oh.
Yeah. That's a long trip from North Bay, Cam.
I was gonna say, wow, Ajax. Okay, I was like, holy crap! I actually
yeah.
Great.
Zach and Bob Ray at Action Utilities Trailers. They've been on the car now since 2021, I think. And they every year they just, hey, what do you need? What can we help you with? They're a huge part of it. My buddy Warren, who's Andy's brother-in-law, my buddy Luco, who's spotting for us. We've got Mike Rusher now, who's going to spot for us this year. They all donate time, right? They're all, and even the wives, showing up at the track and having food ready for everybody and kicking you in the ass when you need to kick in the ass and hugging you when you need to hug. It's a whole team. My girlfriend Gabby, she had no exposure to racing until this year, so this was a eye-opening experience for her. But honestly, it's a group effort. It's a team effort, and I'm surrounded by good people, and that's the only reason why I'm here.
Absolutely. Now, how can people follow along with your story on social media? Because definitely want to follow Paul Pepper Racing all season long.
Yeah, so we got Paul Pepper Motorsports on Facebook, and then we got what's my Instagram? The 29. That one there is a little bit more not as racing related, but there is some good stuff on there. And then TikTok, I think it's just Paul Pepper 29 or something. And I just try to have fun with that stuff. I know Ryan Dyson does a great job with his social media stuff, and I don't have the time to video edit and all that when it comes down to it. So I try to make funny TikToks, and if people laugh at it, great. If not, then whatever.
Well, we absolutely love it.
Wait, can I know this is you guys interview me, but can I ask you guys a couple questions? So like, Graydon, I want to start with Cam just because I kind of know your backstory, but Cam, like, how did you get into racing? Like, are you from a racing fan? Like, what brought you into podcasting? And like, you guys have grown this stickers and scuff things into a monster now.
Relative term.
I don't know if we can call it a monster.
Well, I mean, when you look at Ontario racing, though, like
it's my pet monster or our pet monster.
You two promote, give us a platform to tell our stories and thank our people. Like, what got you guys into it?
Well, we were fans. Our podcast, actually, the whole thing started mainly on NASCAR Canada. That was the only reason we started it, is we kind of connected on Twitter. And that was
2019, 18, something like that too.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Just talking back and forth, and then I said, I tweeted once, said that if I was going to do a podcast, I'd host it with this guy. And then a guy by the name of Mike at racecanada.ca said, "Hey, I got a platform. If you guys want to do a podcast, I'll host it." And we were kind of like, "Oh, okay." That didn't last too long. It was different visions. And then we just, from there, kind of started. 21 was mostly NASCAR Canada, and then our eyes got opened to Ontario racing. And I think neither one of us really had been ever exposed to Ontario racing at all. I mean, I'd seen
not to the point where we like absorbed it. I mean, like we were like NASCAR, blah, and then it just evolved into this, right?
Yeah, it was just that, and no, I don't come from a racing family at all. I'm the only one that likes motors. Like, my dad likes, like, he likes cars that go in a straight line, which I find so incredibly boring. But he
over right next to those dirt cars and potato farmers there.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. He took me to a cast car race back in 03, and he created a monster. So it's our life now, and the podcast is reaching, like I said, you're episode 195. We were approaching 200 episodes, which is, for a podcast that we didn't expect 10 people to listen to. It's been an absolute honor and a privilege. And with that, we're going to wrap this episode up with Paul Pepperson. Don't go too long. Follow him all season long at Sunset Speedway. And definitely, I can't wait to see what the paint scheme is going to be this year, because they always got something looking out. But we want to thank you, Remax Jack, and Sunset Speedway, for partnering with us for this episode of the Stickers and Scuffs podcast.